Welcome everybody to another podcast episode of So Random and Weird Pod. I'm your host for today, Sarah.
And I'm Sheena.
Oh gosh, I tell you, this weather has been crazy, absolutely crazy. I don't know, I went outside today to take my dog out and it was cold. And I was like, I really feel like I need a jacket. Like I was expecting warm weather, and I mean, 'cause we're into, end of April, and I'm like, "This is" and not that I'm complaining, I'm really not, it was just taking me by surprise, you know? It's just it took me by surprise, and I'm like, "I really could use a jacket." And, like and then later on, I had to turn the air on 'cause it was warm, it was hot, I was like, "Okay." So, you know.
Well, it's full spring mode. Come on. I mean, I moved here for this reason.
Well, you maybe have seasons. We don't seem to have seasons here. It goes from, one day it's, frost outside on the cars, and the next day it's legit 90 degrees. And it's like,
Yeah, that's
"What
Idaho.
is" Yeah. What is going on? But climate change is a myth, so as you know.
Mhm.
Aw,
Yeah. Well,
God.
the funny something funny I saw this past week was how, these men are going on about like the male loneliness epidemic and I'm like, you don't hear women complaining about being lonely. Because there
Yeah.
is no female loneliness epidemic, it's called peace.
Oh my god. I well, not to go down the road with that last episode where I don't wanna bash I don't think we were bashing men last time, I definitely don't wanna but I did read an article, and I didn't read it all, I just kinda, skimmed it, but it talked about how spouses, particularly men, male spouses, can cause more anxiety for women and more stress for their partners, their wives. Um, and I was kinda, nodding in agreement, like, "Yes," because I feel like my husband is like my 3rd child, and I've said this before, and I'm like, "You know what? I as much as I'm so glad I got married because I had my 2 kids, but I don't think I could ever get married again. I think I'm okay. If anything, ever happened to Mike, I'm not saying I wouldn't date, but I don't know if I could do that again full time with a living partner. I don't know. I mean, it's, not ha I mean, because, I mean, it's not just taking care of my 2 kids, it's also taking care of him, making his food, doing his laundry, placing his laundry, serving
Mhm.
him. He wakes up in the morning and he's like, "I want a cup of coffee," and so then I have to go make his cup of coffee, and I'm like, "You can't make your cup of coffee?" No, he can't. He can't
Well,
heat
see,
food up. He ca it's like I'm his maid too, and I'm like, "Hmm." Yeah.
yeah,
I
well,
think,
me personally, I am all about that, duplex life. If I do get married, be like, "Look, we'll buy a duplex, you live on one half, I'll live on the other, and we can have
yeah,
visits."
I mean, I you could cohabitate, I think, but I mean, I think you probably you've been single for so long, you've been on your own, you kinda have your set ways, and
Kind of.
I think by now, I mean, it's more or less it would be more like an inconvenience to you, I think, to have
Mhm.
a partner living with you full time because, I mean, you have your things that you do, the way you do things. My aunt was like that too. I mean, when she moved out of my grandparents' house, when they ended up moving, she was in her 40s, and she moved in with a good friend of hers. It was like water and oil, It was they just did not mix. No, she left lights on, he got ticked off at that, and was like, "You're running the electric bill up." He didn't like her leaving her candles burning, and, and she loved lighting her candles, and, I mean, they were just too set in their ways, and then maybe and some people do make it work, and that's fine, but like I said, I mean, I don't know if I would definitely, obviously find another partner at some point in time, but yeah. I don't know about the living. I don't know. I have to think about it because it would kind of be like a freedom thing. Sounds
Yeah.
horrible.
No, I
That sounds horrible. I mean, I
I
would be mourning the loss of my spouse, but I wouldn't. Yeah.
nope, I want my girly, twirly, witchy ways set up, so that's what and then I wouldn't wanna kill somebody and be like, "You
Yeah.
can
I
come over
mean,
for a visit."
yeah. You can have partners. Just maybe not living with you full time. I mean, I don't know. It would depend on the partner too. I mean, if I don't know. Yeah. So,
Well, actually, I would
ah,
probably do, like, a triplex, and then I'd have one of my best friends move in next on the other side, and then we'd
there
have
you
a
go.
door connecting, and then we'd be like, "Midnight margaritas."
And exactly, you could have your girl time, and then when you want some guy time, you could go to the other side and be like, "Hey, let's go." You know?
Exactly.
Exactly. When you want it, and then, like, y'all go back to doing what you were doing? So,
Mhm.
no, I don't know. It's definitely I think men, for the most part, usually need to have that person that takes care of them. Now, I'm not saying all men, not saying all men, but from what I've witnessed, for the most part, men tend to marry quicker after the loss of a spouse, after divorce, whatever, separation. Um, they tend to find someone a lot faster, marry a lot quicker, and they tend to try to find a partner as quickly as they can, because I think they are used to that, that being taken care of, that,
Mhm.
you
And
know,
that's a lot on how they're raised, you know? A lot of people see it where, well, it's your job. No.
yeah.
No, it's not my job
Well,
to take care of you.
and that's with some of my mom friends. We've discussed that, you know, their husbands are a lot like my husband, and that, you know, they kind of expect their wives to do a lot of things for them and take care of the house and the kids, and they have very limited responsibilities.
Mhm.
We're trying to encourage our boys to break from that mold
Mhm. Well, here's
because
the thing.
we blame our mothers-in-laws who raised our husbands.
Well, here's the thing.
Maybe not be able to take care of themselves as they should be
Right.
able to.
Because here's the thing, they say that they go to work to provide for the family, but if they weren't married, they'd still be going to work. So they'd have to make all of that. So
I
they would
mean,
still have to do that plus everything else.
exactly. I
So,
mean,
and that's
they need to be able to learn how to, so, I mean, like, I'm teaching Tyrion, how to cook. He makes amazing tacos. I want him to branch out and do more. I'm teaching him to do his own laundry.
Mhm,
Well, his and his sisters, him and ours. And, I'm trying to get him, because, and despite the fact that he doesn't know what a trash can is,
mhm,
how to take dishes out to a sink, to the kitchen, which that is the biggest struggle right now. Um, he's doing fairly well with it. He's retained the information. He knows how to do it. Um, and that's encouraging. I'm hoping that, I can teach him more and that he can become this self-sufficient guy who don't know if it's just laziness or but I don't have that with my husband. He can't the man can't use a microwave or he won't even heat anything up. I mean, he panics me asking to turn the oven on. I'm like, "God, they hit 2 buttons. This ain't
See,
hard."
here's the thing. No, it's not, because here's the thing, like, my stepdad, granted, he's not like other men in a lot of ways, like, he was pretty much single until my mom, so that was at least what, 30s? Yeah, and he was in his 30s, mid to late 30s,
Well, I mean, that's
and
definitely not the norm, so, I mean, that's a good thing. He had that life experience on his own, hopefully,
mhm, but
unless he lived with his mom.
his mom lived in Soda, which was 15 minutes away, so he would go over there and she would cook, but my mom would now, because the closest, like, doctors, like, real doctors are an hour or more away for my sister. So, on days when, like, my mom has to go up to Pokey, she will be like, "Okay, here's the recipe, and it's all simple. This is what you need to do. It's all out and defrosted. You just need to get the other stuff out." He's learned how to make food. I mean, for the most part,
Amazing. That's awesome.
when I got together, my stepdad would eat basically tuna fish sandwiches, fruit and toast, and whatever he could get from his family.
I love it when men cook.
Mhm,
I do. I love it when men cook
mhm,
because I've never and my dad makes grilled cheese sandwiches, but that is, like, the extent of his cooking.
mhm.
Oh, excuse me.
Don't die.
Sorry. Um, Mike has made grilled cheese, which was actually really good, and he made egg sandwiches, I think, and they were good. So the man can cook when he needs to, I guess. I just but, anything else, it just seems like pulling teeth. So I love I love watching guys in the kitchen, like cooking and dicing and sautéing and I mean, just
See,
watch it. I mean, because it's like I've never really experienced it, and it's like it's
it's called
so
mom porn.
what is it called? Mom
Mom
born.
porn.
Oh, mom porn. Yeah, yeah. That and housework, like housework, handyman work,
Mhm.
like, seriously. Oh god. A guy doing handyman stuff around the house? Yeah,
Yeah,
that's fun for
hello.
me because once again, I'll ask, my yeah, and this is not a Mike bashing thing. I don't want, anyone to ever think I'm bashing my husband. But I mean, trying to get him to do anything around the house. Like I've sent him a list weeks ago to help me, to help hang things up, to help, put in our new window AC, to help do that. He just got around to doing one of those things today, and that was putting new batteries in the doorbell outside. And the
Did you
reason
tell
I
him,
don't do
"Good
that is
boy"?
because the only reason I don't do that is because you have to work around live wires. And I'm like, "No, I'm not working around live wires. Mike can do that one."
Mike
It shocked
Mike can
him, it
take
shocked
his Did you tell him, "Good boy" afterwards?
me so bad. Well, I should have praised him. But I mean, I'm not in my mind, I feel like, why should I praise I mean, like, no one praises me for fucking doing laundry. No one praises me for cooking. No one praises me for, making beds. No one praises me for, no one's like, "Oh, mom, thanks so much for" I don't get thank yous. I don't get, I mean, I'm doing this because this is what I need to be doing. Like, this is like my job. And, I mean, like, if there's something extra that goes above and beyond, um, if there's something extra that's above and beyond, yes, I will praise. Like, if he does something that is like totally out of the blue that like actually helps me, I'll be like, "Oh my god, thank you so much. This is great," and not that I
Mhm,
don't thank him for, like, other things. It's just, you know
yeah.
yeah,
No, I
so,
totally get that because, like, my thing, I love it when men clean the kitchen and do dishes
yeah,
because that is
yeah.
the bane of my existence.
Dishes, yeah. Well, I have
Mhm.
a dishwasher. That's one of Mike's jobs,
I
loading the
I have a
dishwasher.
dishwasher, but for me, it's just, ugh, I hate dishes. Hate it.
Mike used to too. He said, "It's disgusting," and I said, "Yeah, well, you gotta do something around this house." 'cause he
Mhm.
wasn't at that point in time.
Yeah.
I said, "You can do laundry,
But
you can cook, you can do dishes. What do you wanna do?" That's what he
well,
said.
and that's divvy it up. Be like, "Here's the thing. I"
And it wasn't even like
yeah.
hands like, my parents, of course, you remember my the house in Ephrata had no
Mhm.
dishwasher, so my mom, my dad had to do dishes by hand the old-fashioned way.
Mhm.
Mike, I don't think he could ever do well, he had to do it one time when our dishwasher was broken, or I think we had to do it twice, like, in the lifetime of our relationship, and I think that was, like, horrifying to him, to
Yeah.
actually do dishes.
It's
But, I
more of a
mean, other than that,
sensory thing for me.
that could be too. Yeah, with the food, the wet
Give
yeah, yeah. His face is like, "Oh." But, yeah, so, I'm sorry. I got us so off
That's okay.
topic. Alright, so, my topic for this week was paranormal. Par excuse me, paranormal. I have a little bit of a stuffed up nose, so I apologize. Um, and I really, I love history, and I really wanted to do something historical. Um, and I thought, I wanna look at ghost stories and ghosts of the White House. Um, I don't know, I was thinking, I was like, "Should I do battlefields? Should I do what in history can I do?" And I was like, "You know what? In the politically charged, anything politics right now when I read, it's just terrifying to me." I wanted something good when it came to politics. I wanted to read something interesting and fun and good, and that's something I haven't been reading in a while. So I thought, why not? I'm gonna check out Ghost of the White House, and it was fun. I'm just gonna give a little brief history of the White House, before I go into my what I found. So construction, of course, the capital of the United States in colonial times, in the beginning was, well, it became Philadelphia eventually. Um, of course, during the Rev War, there was like Lancaster, I think, was like the capital for like a day or a week or something. I'm so sketchy right now when it comes to my American history, and I apologize. But Philadelphia was the capital before moving down to Washington. Um, and President, George Washington, when he became president, he was elected, he did oversee construction of the White House. The White House construction began when the first cornerstone was laid in October of 1792. Uh, and like I said, he oversaw the construction, but he never actually lived in the White House. Um, it was John Adams and his wife, Abigail. Of course, John Adams was the second president of the United States, just in case, we don't have a whole lot of history buffs. Um, and it was him and Abigail that actually lived in the White House first. And that was in, 1800, I believe, was when they moved into the White House officially. Um, and of course, it is the private home of the president, but it's also open to the public, free of charge, or at least it was. Who knows now? We won't go into that. Um, but it is probably the most famous haunted house um, in the United States. There have been a lot of stories, a lot of experiences. Probably the most famous ghost of the White House is Abraham Lincoln.
Mhm.
Abraham Lincoln appears, of course, in the Lincoln bedroom and the yellow oval room. Um, the First Lady Grace Coolidge and Queen Wilhelmina of the Netherlands claim to have seen him there. Um, the first person to have actually reported Lincoln's ghost was First Lady Grace Coolidge. Um, she said she saw him standing at a window in the yellow oval room staring out at the Potomac in the year 1927. Um, and then in 1942, Queen Wilhelmina of the Netherlands was staying at the White House. She allegedly heard footsteps outside of her bedroom. She answered a knock on the door, only to see Lincoln in a frock coat and top hat standing in front of her. Some stories say that she promptly fainted, but according to a Dutch 1996 newspaper article, she did not faint, but saw the man who looked slightly familiar to her. disappeared before she could say anything. Queen Wilhelmina then returned to her bed, but could not sleep. The next morning, she suddenly realized who she saw the night before. My favorite story of Lincoln, or the Lincoln ghost, is when British Prime Minister Winston Churchill was staying at the White House. He stayed there quite a bit, and he loved to retire late in the evening, taking a long hot bath while drinking scotch and smoking a cigar. So there's an account that on one of these occasions, he climbed out of the bath naked, but for his cigar, walked into the adjoining bedroom, and was startled to see Lincoln standing by the fireplace in the bedroom, leaning on the mantle. Churchill, always quick on the uptake, very very quick, simply took his cigar out of his mouth, tapped the ash off the end of his cigar, and said, "Good evening, Mr. President. You seem to have me at a disadvantage." Lincoln smiled softly, as if laughing, and disappeared. I don't know how I would feel if I was Churchill coming out of the bathroom completely naked and seeing a ghost. Yeah. I think I'd be running out of the room naked or not. I think people would have been like, "Whoa, what's going on in there?" So,
Right?
yeah.
Yeah, I think, yeah. I don't
Yeah.
know. I'd probably just go and then try
Yeah.
to accidentally punch it and then be like, "Oh, sorry," because
Well, I
I
mean,
fight. I don't flight. I
to
fight.
to be in that awkward state, I mean, you're completely naked, you're vulnerable, and all of a sudden, there's, like, this obviously obvious ghost of Abraham Lincoln. I mean, that's insane, you know?
Well,
Ugh.
isn't it said that he usually shows up in desperate times? So, I mean, he's gotta be, like, haunting that place like mad.
Yeah, I mean, and in my research, I mean, I'd heard of that too, but I didn't ever really like, in my research, I didn't really ever see anything like that so I was like, "Is that no longer true?" I mean, he hasn't been seen for a while. According to my research, the last reported sighting, was, like, in the '80s. But,
Mhm.
I'd heard that too, though, and I was kinda looking for that, and I didn't see it anywhere, so I wasn't really sure if that was still what was being said or but, so President, Teddy Roosevelt, his daughter Maureen, uh, and her husband I'm sorry, President Teddy Roosevelt, Maureen Reagan, President Reagan's daughter, her husband, Dennis Revel, and a number of other staff members, like, of FDR's administration have all seen Lincoln's spirit as well. Um, on one occasion, Roosevelt's personal valet ran screaming from the White House, claiming he had seen Lincoln's ghost. Eleanor Roosevelt never admitted to having seen Lincoln's ghost, but she did say that she felt his presence repeatedly throughout the White House. She also said, interestingly enough, that the family dog, Bala, would sometimes bark for no reason at what she felt was Lincoln's ghost. Now, I know animals are more have more are more sensitive than we are. Um, they usually can see, sense things that we can't. I always tell it to Arya too and Tyrion, like when they're worried if there's like, ghosts, and I'm like, look at the cats, you know? Look at how the cats acting. If the cats are acting normal, everything's good. If they're like freaking out and like like
Scary,
hissing or
then.
looking, I mean, mm, then I kind of wonder,
Right.
like I was in bed the other night and my cat lying next to me just like looked up at the ceiling and like, and like meowed. And I'm like looking up at the ceiling. I don't see
Who's here?
anything. There's nothing there that I can see. There's no bugs, no flies. And I'm like, there's shadows. I'm like, what are you looking at and meowing at, cat? What are you seeing that I'm not? Once
Yeah, but
again,
was it the orange one?
no, it was the other one.
Oh,
It was
okay.
it was,
I was gonna
Mitten.
say, if if it's the orange one, then we have problems.
Oh, why?
Because of the one brain cell amongst all orange cats.
Oh, because 'cause you're not a big orange cat fan? Is orange cats,
Well, it's
are
not that
they
it. No, there's
the
a
bane of
thing
your
because orange
existence, or
no, there's this thing where, like, orange cats, they all share a communal brain cell,
Aw,
and it depends on what time of day that they get it because
aw, my
they're not
orange
the
one, I
most,
love him.
they're not the most,
No.
brightest of the pack.
Yeah, I mean, as much as I love my cats, I don't think I got the brightest bulbs in the sheds from the litters. I really don't. Um, I love my orange one. We have this connection, but and his name is Sock. Um, and Mittens, while smart-ish, still not quite there. He loves okay, he did find a mouse in our house. Um, which was the first time in 11 years that we ever had a mouse in our house. I and it was up here in my bedroom. It was up in my bedroom. It was so freaky. I'm like, "Why is there a mouse up here? This is so weird." It's probably because we don't have outside cats anymore. Anyway, the mouse liked to play dead for this cat. The cat found him and was chasing after, but the mouse kept playing dead, and the cat bought it. The cat bought it. I mean, every single time the mouse played dead, the cat was like, "Oh, okay." And I'm like, "Oh, he's faking you out." And he, like, embarrassing and, but and so
Well,
eventually, we were able to catch the mouse and we took him outside. And, but I mean, I think Mittens wounded him because he did have him in his mouth a couple times.
mm,
But and he was kinda
well,
like, hobbling. But, yeah. But then Mittens also likes to chase shadows too. So, anyway, um,
yeah, well, at least you never had one in your bed.
I did.
So, my cat when I
I
first
did.
moved into my house, I don't know when, like, I don't know how long my house was sitting empty. So, I had a couple of mice, and the first one that was found in the house, because Loki, he loved to play with, like, the furry toy mice
Mhm,
that you get in, like, those packs. Those were
mhm.
his favorite toys. So, I'm sitting there, and I was sound asleep in my bed. And he comes up, and he's very vocal black cat, um, and then he also would paw at me because he wanted to play, and I'm like, "Dude, I just wanna sleep." So then, no glasses on,
God.
and I go and I'm, like, patting around to try and find the mouse, and then I touch
Oh god.
the tail, and I went, "That's not a toy!"
Oh god. Yeah. No,
Screamed.
Mittens actually brought the mouse in his mouth up onto my bed, and I was watching. Of course, I scooted off the bed when I saw him, have the and I'm like, oh my god, what do I do? What do I do?" I'm freaking out, I'm panicking because here is this. I mean, he dropped the mouse on my bed, and then, of course, it's playing dead until, the cat's attention moves, elsewhere, and the mouse is kinda like, slithering away, and I'm like, "Mittens, Mittens, look, he's moving," and oh my god, it was just. And finally, I don't know how the mouse got off I don't know, but the mouse got off the bed and ran out of my room. And I didn't know if he ran into Ari's room. I wasn't sure. I mean, and then Ari's freaking out. She doesn't wanna be in her room. Eventually, it ended up downstairs. Anyway, but yeah, it was experience. Okay, back to Lincoln and, the many sightings of Lincoln's ghost. Well, President Dwight D. Eisenhower's, press secretary, James Haggerty, and Liz Carpenter, who is the press secretary to the First Lady, Lady Bird Johnson, they both said they felt Lincoln's presence many times. The former president's footsteps are also said to be heard in the hall outside of the Lincoln bedroom. Lillian Rogers Parks stated in her 1961 autobiography, My 30 Years Backstage at the White House, I'm sorry, my 30 years backstairs at the White House, that she had heard them, that she had heard Lincoln's footsteps. Margaret Truman, who was the daughter of President Harry S. Truman, said she heard a specter rapping at the door of the Lincoln bedroom when she stayed there, and she believed it was Lincoln. President Truman himself was once awakened by raps at the door while spending a night in the Lincoln bedroom. And then there are several eyewitnesses who have claimed to have seen, like, the shadow of Abraham Lincoln actually lying down on the bed in the Lincoln bedroom, which was used as like a meeting room at the time of his administration. And while others have seen Lincoln sit on the edge of the bed and put like his boots on, um, most witnesses, well, the most famous witness was Mary Eben. She was Eleanor Roosevelt's secretary. She saw Lincoln pulling on his boots, after which she ran screaming from the room. And so, yeah, apparently his ghost is also seen outside of the White House as well, um, at other places. But I think the most famous is probably the White House, where the most seen is probably the White House. And the last reported sighting of Lincoln's ghost, like I said, was in the early 1980s, um, when Tony Savoy, who was the White House operations foreman, came into the White House and saw Lincoln sitting in a chair at the top of some stairs. And supposedly, that is the last sighting of Lincoln's ghost.
Mm.
But he is not the only Lincoln to be seen at the White House. His son Willie, who was 11 years old when he died of typhoid fever in February of 1862. Uh, so Lincoln was it was in the midst of the Civil War. When Lincoln was living in the White House, president. He really got sick and died. And his ghost was first reported to have been seen in the White House by staff members of Ulysses S. Grant back in the 1870s.
Mhm.
Reports have been made as recently, though, as the 1960s. Lyndon B. Johnson's college daughter, age daughter, Linda Bird Johnson Robb, claims that she saw the ghost of Willie Lincoln and talked to him. So I know Mary Todd Lincoln did have seances for her son back in the 1860s, um, when she was there at the White House. She did have seances and hoping in hopes of bringing him back and seeing him and talking to him. So did that was that the reason why he's there? Who knows? Um, he is not the only ghost though, besides him and his dad. Former President Andrew Jackson is reportedly haunting the White House. He is seen lying in his bed in the Queen's bedroom, which is the Rose Room. Supposedly he is heard laughing. He lets out a loud guttural laugh, that has been heard in the White House since the 1860s. Mary Todd Lincoln has
Can
claimed to have
the
heard Jackson stomping and swearing. Um, Thomas Jefferson, has been known to play his violin in the Yellow Oval Room. Dolly Madison protects the Rose Garden. Why? We're not
well,
quite
she
sure because
did.
well, yeah. Well, we won't even discuss that. She's probably stomping her foot now, let me tell you. But the Rose Garden, we're not really sure why she protects the Rose Garden because the Rose Garden wasn't there when she was at the White House. But that's who they see in the Rose Garden. Um, John Tyler haunts the Blue Room, proposing to Julia Gardner, who was his second wife. William Henry Harrison haunts the attic of the White House. He was the first president to die in the White House. Why would you haunt an attic?
No
I don't
space.
know. I know it's quiet. It's quiet, theoretically, I guess. Um, Abigail Adams can be seen, as you know, she was the first white female, the first, first wife to live there. Um, she hung laundry in the East Wing, and contemporary like staff can smell wet laundry in the scent of lavender. Yeah, well, when the East Wing, I guess, was still there, or the East Room, I guess. Um, but her ghost has also been seen carrying laundry um, through the house, and some people have even said that they've seen her walk through walls. So, with this laundry that she's carrying, still carrying laundry. God, I just dude, you're dead. Rest. Rest.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're dead. Why are
That's
you doing
not
laundry, girl? God bless.
that's not what I wanna do in the afterlife.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I hope to God when I die, if there's an I mean, if there's an afterlife, who knows? I don't wanna be fucking doing housework.
No,
I
I don't
don't.
wanna work.
No. I
I
don't I
need to
mean,
know who killed John Benet Ramsey, okay?
yeah,
That's what
exactly.
I
I
need to know.
don't exactly. I don't yeah. Um, apparently there are people who are non-presidential as well, who haunt the the White House. Some people have seen a British soldier or someone who looks like a British soldier, because, there during the War of 1812, there was a fire at the White House. The White House did burn. Um, so people have seen, an unnamed British soldier, um, who roams the White House grounds holding a torch. Did he die in the fire? Did he die during the War of 1812? Who knows? But he has been seen on the grounds. David Burns, who owned the land on which the White House now stands, he has been seen or heard in the Yellow Oval Room.
But yeah,
So
didn't he, only, sell off, a bit at a time?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I just heard about this. So
yeah,
I was he was petty,
yeah,
and
yeah,
we like petty, or at least I
yeah,
like petty.
yeah,
'Cause, I mean, I get it, but at the same
yeah,
time, I'm like, "You
yeah,
gotta make the smart decision."
yeah, they wanted his land, so yeah. Um, so yeah, First Lady Frances Folsom Cleveland, who was married to, of course, President Grover Cleveland in the White House's, um, Blue Room in 1886. It's widely claimed that she haunts the room where she was married, in the Blue Room, and was seen there after her death in 1947. And then, interestingly enough, and this was heartbreaking for me, uh, Anna Surratt, who was the daughter of Mary Surratt, who was the only woman who was hanged in for Lincoln's assassination. She was the
Mm,
only woman. She was only the only woman who was hanged. Um, Her daughter supposedly haunts the White House. When Mary was arrested, Anna was 22 at the time, and she begged President Andrew Johnson. She begged an audience with President Johnson. Um, she was banging on the doors of the White House, begging, pleading, crying, to see President Andrew Johnson so that she could hopefully gain her mother's release, from jail. And of course, he did not grant it. Um, and so she was hung. Mary was
mm.
hung. But people have heard Anna Surratt and have seen Anna Surratt banging. Mostly, the wails, the crying, the banging. I'm like, "Oh, God, that's heartbreaking. That's heartbreaking." So there is another entity that is seen, well, mostly heard, at the White House, and it is referred to as the Thing. And of
Isn't that
course,
our
when I
current president?
yeah, that would be the orange thing. Um, so yeah, the best this is the Thing is probably the best documented haunting. It happened, late 1910 through the summer of 1911 during the presidency of William Howard Taft. The servants there were terrified of a ghost, an entity. The Thing was not usually seen, it or heard really. It was mostly just felt. In fact, only one person ever claimed to have actually seen the Thing. Um, and it was Mary Taft's maid, who was referred to as Marsh, Marsh. Um, Supposedly, the Thing is an unidentified 15-year-old boy that, like I said, greatly terrified the Taft domestic staff in 1911. Um, President Taft's military aide, Major Butt, I kid you not, Butt, Major Butt, wrote to his sister Clara, "The ghost, it seems, is a young boy, about 14 or 15 years old, that they say that the first knowledge one of has of presence of the thing is a slight pressure on the shoulder, as if someone were leaning over your shoulder to see what you might be doing. President Taft ordered Butt, and I'm sorry, to tell the White House staff that the first member to repeat stories about the thing would be fired. So people really don't know who the thing is. What is it? Willie Lincoln? Is it someone? I mean, there's theories, but apparently the thing was really only around during the early 1900s. Maybe it just liked to annoy Major Butt. I I don't know, but there's a lot written and experience with that entity, and there is a demon cat. I thought of you as soon as I saw this. I thought of you. Um, that haunts Washington buildings, including the White House. It dates back to the stories date back to like mid 1800s when cats were being brought in to the basement tunnels of the Capitol building to catch rats and mice. Legend states that the demon cat is one of these cats that never left, even after its death. Its home is supposedly in the basement crypt of a Capitol building. However, um, according to legend, the cat is has been seen before presidential elections and tragedies in Washington D.C. So I don't know if they seem to like these stories about like ghosts appearing before, like you said about Lincoln and things like that. So apparently, this cat is the same. He is seen before presidential elections and tragedies in Washington D.C. Allegedly being spotted by White House security guards on the night before the assassinations of JFK and Abraham Lincoln. Um, he is described as either a black cat or a tabby cat and the size of an average house cat. However, witnesses report that the cat swells, I love this, the size of a giant tiger or an elephant, said to be 10 feet tall and 10 feet long when alerted. That'd be one
"Here, kitty, kitty, kitty,
scary cat.
kitty." Well, apparently, they haven't seen it recently, so that means that last night was staged, y'all.
Exactly, exactly. So we can have the ballroom.
Yep,
That's the first thing all these GOPers are thinking, "We have to have the ballroom." Really? That's the first thing you think of after this? We need the ballroom. Yeah, no. So yeah, the cat would then either explode, I'm sorry, or pounce at the witness, disappearing before it managed to catch its victim. I love explode. I when I think of this, I think of
like,
like
what
this
does it explode
elephant.
into? What does it explode into? Kittens?
I read that and I'm like, "Explode? What is it? What? How?" I don't know.
But what, like, is there, like, guts on the wall? Is this, like, The
Well, that's what
Boys?
I'm wondering too, like,
Or
when when I think of explode, so I'm wondering if it doesn't, like, just, like, dissipate. Like, when they say explode, I'm thinking, does it mean, like, just, like, kinda, like, dissipates, and just kinda, like, into nothingness? I mean,
I don't know.
I because I mean, obviously, when you hear explode, you think of, like, bombs going off and stuff, and, like, cat bits going
Exactly. I'm like, is this an episode of The Boys
Oh, that
or
show.
is
Oh my
this
god.
yeah,
Oh,
or is it just, like, confetti? Or
exactly. Like, is it like a piñata and just shit goes everywhere? I mean, I don't know. Um, so the sad news is in the 1890s, the cat is said to have inexplicably vanished when some Capitol Hill guards fired their guns at it. And another guard is said to have died of a heart attack after seeing it. So, the demon cat was also allegedly seen in the final days or aftermath of World War II in the 1940s. So, it wasn't really seen after the 1890s except for when World War II, like, ended. So, but, I saw the demon cat and I'm like, "Oh, Gina." Um, so yes, So First Lady Michelle Obama has, also said that she has heard noises, um, coming from outside of their bedroom when her and President Barack Obama were staying in the White House. She said she'd also, had family members feel an odd sensation as if someone was gnawing at their feet. Perhaps the ghost of a White House pet, who knows? But
Rat.
apparently someone there has a foot fetish.
Could be a rat.
White House ghost having a foot fetish, I don't know. I don't know. Did Lincoln have a foot fetish?
Hey, he could have been bi or even
Yeah.
gay, so, you
Well,
know.
there are stories about Lincoln having close friendships with males. I've read about this. I'm a history buff here. I love it. Um, there's been question I mean, homosexuality is not a new thing. It
No,
has
it's
always
not.
been around. So, you know, it's just it was never talked about. It was never acknowledged. I mean, it was never publicly talked about because it was considered evil. Who knows? Is he I mean,
It was
if you're
considered
married to Mary
evil.
Todd, I mean, she was fucking crazy. I don't know. I mean
It was man that made it evil even though it's always
exactly,
been.
exactly,
One
exactly,
man turned one group to then which then et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
exactly, exactly. It's not a new phenomenon. I mean, it's like, yeah, it just was never talked about. So yeah, who knows? But Michelle Obama. So there has even been experiences up through the Obama administration. And I have a few stories from president's children, president's kids, that I wanted to share. Spooky stories, spooky stories. So in the White House, Margaret Truman constantly heard floors popping, doors knocking, and drapes sliding back and forth. Excuse me. Her father, President Harry Truman, described the mansion as haunted, sure as shootin'. Margaret decided to get to the bottom of the bizarre rap tap tappings, and one night, on a dare, slept in the Lincoln bedroom, the room haunted most by eerie thumps and bumps. President Truman must have known of his daughter's ghostly quest, for the only ghost to appear that particular night was a White House butler donning a top hat, a prank played by a lighthearted father. But Margaret's ghosts persisted, prank or no prank, prompting her father to order renovations. Margaret and her father are not alone when it comes to hearing spooky noises in the White House. Jenna Hager Bush, daughter of President George W. Bush, awoke to music from the 1920s um, coming from her fireplace. She was quoted as saying, "I was asleep. There was a fireplace in my room, and all of a sudden I heard 1920s music coming out. I could feel it. I freaked out and ran to my sister's room." Jenna's sister, Barbara, believed the story to be malarkey, and Jenna dared Barbara to sleep in her room the following night. So they did, and both heard ear splitting opera blaring from the exact same fireplace. No warm, cozy sleep for either that night. At first light, the White House worker spilled the beans to the shivering, shaken sisters, stating they hear it all the time.
Eh, eh. Yeah, that's almost kind of like
Creepy.
right now. One of my smoke alarms keeps going off randomly, and
Ew,
I've got the
that's
landlord
freaky.
coming in.
That's
But,
freaky.
well, one of them, it's like a power source one, not like a battery,
So it's wired.
and
It's a wired
yeah,
one. Oh.
yeah,
Oh, that's
and
even
so, like,
freakier.
right now, I don't know if you can hear it, but there's a
I
beep,
know,
beep, beep going off,
and that's a
and,
wired one. It's not a battery one.
yeah,
That's weird. Ooh, creepy. Creepy.
yeah.
Well, I
Well,
mean,
it goes off in the middle of the night,
oh
so
god.
and it's
Well,
loud.
they say that if you're going to be haunted, spirits usually like electrical things, TVs, lights, when my parents and I and the kids stayed at a haunted, um, house in Gettysburg last year. Ah, that's so creepy. My mom had her iPad with her, and it was next to her side of the bed, and she woke up to it making noises, and she had no idea what was going. I mean, she didn't do it. I mean, my mom doesn't know technology, like, she didn't do it, she doesn't set alarms on it, she doesn't do anything on it. Um, and it was really freaky because, um, she didn't know what happened, like, why, and supposedly that the owners of the house, we did reach out to them and they did say, yes, the cleaning staff has reported sightings, have reported, things and stuff. Yeah, I mean, spirits seem to like technology. I don't know.
Well,
Um,
then I just turned
Give it to
on
me.
I have the Ghost Tube app,
huh?
and, since you're like, "Well, maybe it's a ghost," it's saying, "Give it to me." Well, you can take the freaking thing, I don't care. Like, it's waking me up in the middle of the night.
Oh, so there's something they're saying, "Give it to me." What? What?
It
What?
just said, "You are funny."
Oh my god. Ew, so what is that? What is that? An app that
Yeah.
detects? Ew. Ew, I don't think I want that. Ew. Ew, I don't think I want that. Oh god. No.
Well,
If
thank
I
you.
had that here, I don't think I'd be able to like live in my house comfortably anymore. I think I'm better just not knowing. Anyway, Susan Ford, daughter of President Gerald Ford, ran smack dab into the specter of President Abraham Lincoln, alongside the fireplace in the Lincoln bedroom. Scared to return to the room, Susan never entered again until, on a dare, she and a friend decided to sleep in the bedroom on her father's last night as president. The girls hoped to see Lincoln putting on his boots, just as one of Franklin Roosevelt's, clerks had seen. The risk paid off, but in an unexpected way. Susan awoke to see her mother, Elizabeth, dressed in a sheet, reciting the Gettysburg Address. We were like, "Yeah, Mom, we're a little too old for that," Susan joked. So, similar to Susan, Maureen Reagan bumped into Lincoln's spirit, waking one morning in the Lincoln bedroom. In the words of her father, President Ronald Reagan, quote, "To a figure standing at the window looking out. She could see the trees right through him. Again, it turned and disappeared." Apparently, the Reagan's dog, a spaniel named Rex, also sensed the Lincoln's ghost, barking frantically near the door to the bedroom, but never setting foot inside. That is telling. I'm sorry. Rex even barked at the ceiling for no reason as the Reagans watched TV. So yeah, the dog not going into the bedroom, that's no. I would never go into that bedroom ever, ever. No. Uh, Linda Johnson Robb, president of, Lyndon Johnson, met and maybe even spoke to the spirit of, Willie Lincoln, like I said before. Um, in fact, Willie's ghost visited Linda in the very room in which he passed away in. Willie's spirit, like that of his father, seems to flit and fly all around the house, dropping in on several White House staff members over the years, including a maid during the presidency of Ulysses S. Grant. Amy Carter, President Jimmy Carter's daughter, did not witness Linda, Maureen, or Rex's fun. However, one Halloween, wishing to call upon Lincoln's ghost, Amy and her friend Claudia Sanchez dared to spend the night in the Lincoln bedroom, consulting a Ouija board before falling off to sleep. As Amy's mother's Rosalind joked, of course they heard the ghost, for mother and maid pulled a hair-raising prank and covered with sheets burst into the room to the young girl's screams. I think that's cruel. I think that's
I
cruel.
think that's something my mom would do, so
Probably, probably. Um, but I mean, if you're gonna be in the Lincoln bedroom and stay overnight in Lincoln and then use the Ouija board, I mean, you're gonna be scared shitless no matter what happens. I'm sorry. Um, Sasha and Malaya Obama used the White House ghosts for some fun with friends as well. During a slumber party, as they ate late night snacks like chocolate covered pretzels and flavored plastic goldfish, Malaya started telling her friends about the spooky presidents of the past, now roaming the halls as ghosts. As the girls grew quieter and quieter, they heard her whisper, the ghost of George Washington. He told Malaya how great a job her father was doing in the office and how proud she should be of him. Just like the Ghostbusters and, quote, not afraid of no ghosts, Sasha crept to the kitchen from where the whispers seemed to be coming from. Crash, clang, kaboom, all the pots fell. As she turned on the lights, Sasha discovered the source of both the clanging and the whispering. There was her dad, Barack Obama.
Mhm.
So, some fun stories, from the kids of the, you know, previous presidents, but, definitely a lot of sightings of the same things. Um, so I mean, I once again, like, my husband's always like, "Oh, there's always an explanation." But I mean, I feel like if people are witnessing this a lot, and they're witnessing the same events, the same people, the same how made up can it be? Like, I mean, one person you think, "Ah," but these are multiple people who have seen and experienced things that they can't explain, weird things, unexplained things. So, yes, I mean, I am definitely a believer, and, I loved researching the ghosts of the White House, and I don't know, I don't think I could stay there. I really don't. I don't, especially in the Lincoln bedroom. I don't think I'd be brave enough. I really don't. On a visit, sure, during the day, bright, sunny day, but yeah.
No, I could totally
Yeah, yeah,
I'd totally go.
yeah, you would? At night?
I
Would you go
would.
at night?
Yeah,
You Alright, I'll go with you,
I
but
ain't
you gotta
afraid of
hold my
no
hand.
ghosts.
You gotta hold my hand.
I've had enough ghosts things. Human ghosts, fine. Not human, no.
Yeah. I'd wanna see it grow to a tiger or an elephant and then explode.
Okay,
I'd be
but then
curious
that would
about that.
actually, like, settle my mind, you know? Because then, now that I've heard the story, I'm like, "Okay, now what?"
But I mean, I I don't understand. I mean, it's a demon cat. I mean, but, like, how does it explode before it catches its prey? Like, who's the prey? Are we the prey? Who's the prey? 'Cause it supposedly, like, grows, but it then disappears before it catches its prey. So I'm like,
Dude,
why does
I'm
it have
always
to
covered in catnip, so, or I have a bag of catnip with me, so I'd be like, "Here, take it."
I'm like, is it angry at people for, like, putting it down into the catacombs, underneath the Capitol to catch mice? I mean,
The catacombs.
I would oh, no pun intended. I mean, I wouldn't wanna be spending the rest of my life in freaking, you know, no, the basement hallways and crap, underneath the Capitol building. But there's no light, no windows, I mean, yes, I'm catching mice, but, I mean, is this cat angry because it was made to do this for its life? And now it's, like, growing to tiger or elephant size because it's gonna attack humans? Like, are we the prey? Like, I'm
I know a
curious.
few people it needs to do its job.
Well, yeah, it needs to come back, let me tell you what. So, but yeah, definitely a lot of interesting interesting ghosts. But you think, I mean, of all the people that lived in the White House and have associations with the White House, there'd be a lot more sightings of different people. I don't know.
Possibly, or, there are some people who are just done with it.
That's true too.
That's
That's true
my
too.
theory on a lot of, like, why there's not, like, why everybody isn't a ghost. It's just that, you get to a point where you're just done, you know? And so, like, and for Lincoln, some of it can be like the stone tape theory kind of thing, just like a replay, like if of him just standing at a fireplace, you know?
Mm.
But also the thing is too is like he was there during the most
Tumultuous
difficult,
time. Yeah.
yes, time of the United States when it was
Well,
internal, you
and
know?
and we're seeing that again. History is repeating itself. But I mean, I really do believe that sometimes these spirits, apparitions, they have Unfinished Business. Not to sound like Casper, the movie, which I love that movie, by the way. Devin Sawa, oh my god, I love him. Um, but
Eh,
I feel
I
like
was
I mean oh, no, what?
I was just gonna say, you know what? I still haven't recovered from the "Can I keep you?"
I love that whole scene. I have that song on my Amazon Prime my playlist because I love that. I love that scene, I mean, when he's, like, walking down the stairs and I'm just like, oh, my heart just is,
Devin
like,
saw.
pounding. Oh, god. And then they're in Now and Then, which, they have a relationship in that movie too, which was like I was like, "Oh, Christina, you're so lucky. Twice in 2 movies." Um, but, you know, he really I feel like, he really w did have, this unfinished business maybe, like this because, I mean, I think as much as he was probably, like, the Civil War's over and everything, he never got to be there for the Reconstruction.
Mhm,
And I really feel like that John Wilkes Booth screwed the South by killing
mhm,
Lincoln because I really truly feel that Lincoln would not have been as hard on the South during
mhm.
Reconstruction that Andrew Johnson was. Johnson
Right,
was horrible. He
right.
really he bent them over and he did them hard. Um,
Which is kind of funny considering he was a Southerner,
yeah.
right?
But I mean, I really feel like Lincoln would not have been as hard on the South. He would not have been as hard like, on Lee. He would not have done I mean, I really truly feel like he would not have been as hard, and Johnson, he I mean, he yeah. It took a while for the South to recover after that,
Mhm.
and I understand the bitterness in some ways because, I mean, you know, we're supposed to be a united country now, and they were being punished, and, I mean, should have they been punished? I mean, I don't know. I mean, they seceded from the Union. I mean, but I don't feel like they should have had to deal with what they dealt with, and I think Lincoln would have been a lot easier on them, and I think he would have
Mhm.
just wanted to heal the country. Johnson, I think, wanted revenge, for Lincoln's death, I mean, I think he wanted I don't know. Anyway, but, so maybe Lincoln is roaming because he wasn't able to really complete what he wanted to complete, unfinished business. Who
Quite
knows?
possibly,
Yeah.
especially because, yeah, a lot of things aren't going so great, and he usually is supposed to show up when things are difficult. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. It's I can definitely see the demon cat and Lincoln returning now. I mean,
yesterday.
yeah, a year ago, but,
Well,
yeah.
I went ahead and I spun the wheel
Oh,
for you.
yeah. Yeah.
Apparently, it's giving this out twice in a week now, free space.
Sweet, sweet. Love it. Okay.
Yeah. So,
Um,
I have my free space next week.
I think I wanna do pop culture yeah, I think I wanna do something like pop culture.
I well, the thing is too is we're adding in, a new
Yeah.
what's the word I'm looking for? We added in a
Topic,
new topic.
topic,
There we go. Thank you.
subject.
I'm like,
Yeah.
I've got
ADHD.
beeping going on in my house.
Yeah.
So I'm like, "Meh."
I was thinking about that too. I'm not sure. I had an idea of what I wanted to do for pop culture, but with the new topic, and I'll let you explain it. But yeah.
Yeah, so we added a new topic called oddities and curiosities, which is gonna kinda like when we have those things that all come together, like Dyatlov's Pass is one thing where, it can be it's historical, it's kinda true crimey, and then it's also possibly paranormal as well. We can throw it into that place as well that we wanna do that without having to be like, "Well, this is this, and this is this, and this is this. So, and my subject is kind of, like that, it is an oddity and part of the curiosities. I'm gonna be going over, tarot and oracle cards.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yes,
And
'cause
and maybe, like, the differences and,
Mhm,
the meanings, and that's yeah, that's fascinating because, I mean, there is I mean, I there are some questions I know, like, most people know of tarot cards, um,
mhm,
but maybe not all know about oracle cards. Um, so, yeah.
yeah. I mean, I generally, when I remember, I do a daily read. I pull every night, and this is my current deck. It's
Ooh, I like that, that's
ethereal.
pretty. I like that. It's pretty.
They're very they're they've got the shiny
Mhm.
side, and
I
then
like
this is the
oracle
back,
cards. Ah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
and then this one is the 2 of swords, and it's very dark, like, you know, dark a lot of dark imagery. There's some that have, like, skulls, death is a pretty awesome card in this deck, but, yeah, here it is. So, yeah, it's something that I like doing. I mean, I was raised not to do it.
Well, you were taught they were evil, probably. They were devil's
Yes.
tools, evil.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they're not, especially if you use them in the right way. Um, and also the difference between oracle cards and tarot cards is, pretty interesting. And I have a couple of decks of oracle cards as
Yeah.
well. Um,
I find oracle cards tend to work better for me.
that was until I got this deck.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I got this deck, and ever since then, I feel it calling. I feel my deck ready.
Okay. Okay.
Um, but yeah, because I would always have that thing, and it would always just be like, well, telling me the same thing, and I'm like, I already know. What's next?
I
What do I need to do?
A friend of mine who was a part of our Black Hat, um, before it kind of fell apart, um, she introduced me to an oracle deck. I went to, have Reiki done with her, and she was a beautiful soul. She actually just passed away, um, about maybe a year ago, 6 months to a year ago. She was a beautiful soul, and, like, she did sound therapy with me, which was really awesome. She did Reiki on me. She said, before I left, she said, "If you don't mind, I'd like for you to pull a card." And I said, "Yeah." Or was it 3 that I did? I don't remember. But when I pulled the cards, like, I shuffled them, it was spot on. And I was like, "Oh my god, this is exactly, like, what I'm going through." I mean, was the only time I ever really had that connection up until that point that I ever really had a connection with a deck. And I was like, "I have to get this because this is speaking to me. This deck is really speaking to me." And I got it, and it has been spot on every time. And it's so, like, I love it. Like, I have a few other, like, decks. I have a Universal Monsters, tarot deck, because, well, it's Universal Monsters. Duh. So and I really just got it just, because of it. Um, and there, it's fine to, but the Oracle deck that I have that I got, is just fantastic, and I really have not felt the need to get a whole lot of other decks at this point in time. So, mm,
Yep. So I have this oracle deck. This one doesn't like me as much,
Oh,
kinda just
yeah,
repeats things.
I
But
I
this
do
is the
love.
one
Right.
this is
Mhm.
the one that when I was deciding about moving and everything, that was really, really on it, but now it's not so on it ever since I
Oh,
got this one deck.
maybe
So,
maybe there's some jealousy, maybe there's some, feeling of resentment,
who knows, I mean, the
or
thing
maybe
is
it's just not
is
reading you as well anymore, I don't know. I
yeah,
mean,
I
maybe you
I
have to cleanse it or something again, I
this
don't know.
one this one, just every time,
Yeah,
every time.
yeah,
So,
I gotcha, I gotcha. But
but
I would love to learn more about them because honestly, as much as I mean, I haven't used them honestly recently. I haven't used my deck recently, but I don't know a whole lot about, like histories or anything like that. I mean, I've never really researched them. I've researched like, how to use them and like what, meanings and then I've started to just feel the meanings of the cards. Like
mhm,
once I started to work with my deck more and more, I was like, okay, you know what? This is how I'm seeing it. This is how I'm interpreting it.
mhm.
Um, so now I just kinda, like, feel the cards, but I don't really know a lot of, like, the history or anything like that, so that'd be fascinating. That'd be fascinating.
Yeah. Um, I I remember going to a class, and I'll include it when in next week's episode too, about this one class that I went to about doing oracle cards and, like, how to interpret them because you don't have to just take them at face value,
Yeah,
but if you, like, really look into the card and see what
yeah,
is on the
exactly,
card, then that can do that as well.
exactly. I mean, I used in the beginning, I used to look up, at the book, and be like, "Okay, what does this mean?" Like, flip through the pages, yeah. Um, but,
Yeah.
like, once you're really, like, in tune with your deck, um, you just kind of intuitively know what what it's saying, which is really cool.
Yep,
Yeah.
so but yeah, that's
Ah,
what I'll be doing next week
yeah.
is
Exciting.
yeah, I mean, get into my little bit of, witchy side,
Yeah.
so
All right. Well, I cannot wait to hear your pod episode, your talk on oracle cards and tarot cards. But until then, we're gonna say goodbye. We're gonna say goodnight. Um, Thank you again, everyone, for joining us. Hope you enjoyed it. I don't know if anyone has ever gotten to visit the White House. I have not. Um, I would love to visit the White House, like, at some point in time, not in the next 3 years or so. Um, Hopefully in the future, when things, knock on wood, settle. Once again, hoping. Um, but yeah, I mean, if anyone's ever visited or if you've ever visited and seen anything or felt anything, um, we'd love to hear about it. We'd love to hear about anything that you've experienced, seen, witnessed, heard of. Share. Tell us what you experienced. We'd love to hear things, the oddities, the anything. Um, we want to hear from you. We want to share your stories. We want to share your experiences. Reach out to us.
yes, you can reach out to us by, liking and commenting, um, on our Facebook. You can rate and review us on wherever you listen to our podcasts. You can catch us on Apple Podcasts. You can catch us on iHeartRadio, all of them, YouTube, and email us your experiences to so random and weird podcast at gmail.com. Still waiting on those stories.
Yeah,
So
we're
that
on
way we
Facebook.
can do,
We're on
yeah, you can
Insta.
also Facebook and Insta and yeah, share us, you know, help us build our community. We want to hear from you guys as
Yeah,
well if there's
yeah.
any topics. And with that, my little curiosities, we will say good night.
Good night, little nerdlings. We love you. Thank you
Mm.
so much. Bye.
Bye.